Good morning. It's a great pleasure for me to be here this morning to speak with you about the mission of the Sisters of Notre Dame de Namur. I thank you, Father, and Father, for the welcome that I received here and for all of you as well. Over 200 began a long history of reaching out to the poor in the most abandoned places. Our founders, Saint Julie Billard, knew in 1804 that her mission was to go all over the world, and to this day, her sisters help the work of the church on 5 continents. I have been privileged to go to Congo there. I assure you I learned far more from them than they ever could have learned from me. Right from the beginning, it was kind of frightening to be there, to be at the airport and be welcomed by soldiers with rifles. And I know traveling is not too easy today, but we haven't met that yet. On the way to the convent, I just couldn't believe it. There were men walking up and down the highways, double highways, and they said later that that's because they're looking for work. And far up on the road, there were men and women. They were herded onto flatbed trucks to be taken somewhere to get some money in order to bring food home to the family. Even the little children were on the side of the road selling bread, selling pencils. That was then, but now it is very different. The plight of children is horrible. The children are working in mines. Now, some of you may know, I didn't know till maybe a year ago, that there's a substance that we are using daily, and it's called coltan. It's a substance of columbite and tantalite. They take the first 3 letters and put it together to coltan. What is coltan worth? Well, I don't imagine there are too many people here without a cell phone, without an iPad, without a Nook or whatever, or electronic equipment at home. That is the thing that gets these little instruments of ours going and working. The children, as I mentioned, are worse off now because little boys, are put into mines where they can chop the material that coltan is. Now, it's a very unhealthy situation. They're in these caves all day long. They are not fed anything. There's no water to drink. So, and they take it all out, they sift it, they work, and they're children. And children shouldn't be working, they should be playing. If they don't work, they don't eat. Now, I heard a story of a little boy who went to get his food, and he knew that he shouldn't be there because it was not his day to eat. Now, we have children here, all children everywhere that have a lot of food, and they look at it as if it's poison. These children would die for what the children in this country leave aside. As a woman, I found it very difficult to watch the African women returning from the forest where they had chopped the wood all day long and carried it on their heads. Burdened as they were, overcome certainly they must have been with the heat, they smiled at us, and it was embarrassing also for me, thinking how little we walk for what we need. Now, I know things are not close to us, especially in an area that's far away from a big city, but how little we do, and it made me feel embarrassed that I can't walk a block to get something. Congo was and continues to be a very dangerous place. First of all, that Rwanda and Uganda and Burundi are fighting for the coltan that I told you about. And this has caused internal wars. War goes on all the time. Then, of course, the internationals come and maybe give 20% of what is taken out of the mines to the Congolese people. This could be the richest country in the world for what they have. But, of course, with an infrastructure that's not, especially governmental-wise, is not good, they don't know what to do with what they have, or they don't have the power, or there's such corruption in the government, they can't do anything. So Congo is a dangerous place. It was, and it is. They never know when the soldiers from the east part of the country are going to come and attack. And most of the time, the sisters get word that they're coming, and the children disperse to their homes, and the sisters hide in the forest. Now, when they return from the forest, sometimes what they find is devastating to them. The chapel had been used as a dormitory for the soldiers. One thing that was good about it is they didn't touch the Eucharist in the tabernacle. So somewhere, somehow, a grace was there for them not to do such a thing. The school right beside the convent was destroyed, and it seems like all they do is start from square one and rebuild. Of course, we help them because we're an international congregation, as I said, on the 5 continents. Then we have sisters in Zimbabwe, and that's in a desperate state. The infrastructure there is terrible. They tear down homes of the poor people, and then they say, we're going to build it up and make it nice, but this doesn't ever happen. And the children there are being brought up by their older brothers and sisters because many of the parents have died from the AIDS virus. Now, it's not all outside, but it's inside too, because we suffered the loss of one of our sisters 8 years ago. She was an American from Ohio. She spent 30 years in the rainforest with the peasants, and she always fought for the rights of the peasants, was able to procure land so that they could build their homes, as poor as they are. But constantly, the loggers came from all parts of the world to start tearing down the country, dispossessing the people who live there. Every time this happened, she would go to the powers that be, and because it was forbidden to do this logging. And, they get a slap on the wrist and then sent back to where they are. Well, one day she was on her way with some peasants to visit some sick people, and she was accosted by men with rifles. The first thing she did instinctively was pull her Bible out of her bag and begin to read the Beatitudes. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven, and so forth. You've heard them many, many times. They stood there piously and listened to her, because the Congo is a Catholic country, and listened to her very carefully. When she finished, they shot, and she died. And she was left in the rain on the ground for 6 hours. How do we know? And they fled quickly because they had great fear that their families would be assaulted at home. But thank God they were with her so we could know the story. And when the sisters got there, it was 6 hours later, because the means of transportation in those places are not what we have around here. But along with the tragic, which I think that was a very tragic situation, we have many, many good things happening. Sisters of Notre Dame, along with system experts, have created a 25-system grid of photovoltaic power. And it's powered, of course, by the sun. And we have it in 2 sites right now, in Congo and in Nigeria. Now the water in those areas is being purified. And it's not only the sisters, no, it's the whole area that is within the range of the power of the grids. And you can imagine how grateful the people are. They also have a computer site where people in Congo can come and use the computers and contact their people wherever they are. The children now have clean water to drink. The families have homes that are safe, and they have everything, electricity that they never had. When I was there, no electricity, definitely no water. The sisters had to carry it on tubs on their heads from the cisterns. So great hope is for the children. And for doctors, there's a hospital in Kinshasa, and these doctors now have the ability to contact doctors all over the world so that they can get ideas on how to deal with different situations. Little babies, and many of them die right after birth, especially when there are twins. But now we have incubators. We've provided that. Our sisters are bringing up children that they find as orphans. 50 of them they've got right now, and they're watching for them. And it's hard to provide for them, certainly. Their parents are gone. The parents have died. Very, very sad situation. Now, you may wonder how we can do this photovoltaic system power. Well, it's very expensive, as you can imagine. And it was the idea of one of our treasurer who was walking, and this man was coming one way, and she said, "I got a problem." And he said, "What? Maybe I can help you." And she told him about no water, no electricity. And he said, "I think I can do something for you." And they set up this system. Now, the sisters in Congo and in Nigeria manage it themselves. But if there's a serious problem, right away someone is sent down, some scientist, some person working with this kind of system will be sent down to help and set it up again. So these are the good things that are happening, and we are so grateful for the help that we get. And the help is, it doesn't come from us so much because, as you know, sisters are getting older. And those of us who are still in ministry are able to, a part of our stipend goes to our international office and our community office for funding of the missions. Now, we live in an interconnected universe, as you know, as we mentioned, where the poor are searching for justice so that they may have the simple needs, food and drink. That's all they're asking for. Now, in these days of advanced technology, we try to keep in contact with all our sisters everywhere, but sometimes in some areas, we cannot reach them because of lack of electricity, not in the two places I talked about. But our sisters in the Sudan, we're in the Sudan right now, and also in Haiti, Congo, Nigeria, Kenya, Zimbabwe, and Nicaragua, have a better contact. And having attended Mass each morning with my sisters from Congo, I know that they pray for you, and they pray because they know that the work they do could not happen without you. Now, as we leave Mass today, let's remember what we're going home to. Probably it's breakfast time or brunch time, and it will be wonderful at home or wherever you choose to eat. But think of the many in the world, not only in the areas that I spoke about, who will go home to no food and no drink. I thank you so much because I know you'll pray for us, and I know that with whatever you can do, we would most appreciate. I have left some brochures at the back of the church, and I think a few at the front entrance, that gives you some idea of what the sisters are doing in various places. So I thank you very much for your attention, and especially I thank you for the prayers that you say for our missionaries.